Here's to the women who won't settle, the badasses, the rebels, the ones who know they deserve more, those who know how to get their worth, those who refuse to settle for mediocre careers. You can hate them or you can love them, but the one thing you can't do is ignore them. Why? Because you admire them. Welcome to Career Overhauling, and I'm your host, Olivia Jarris. This is a space where I make dream careers and dream salaries happen. Well, hello and welcome to my podcast. I am so honored that you're here. I completely realize that your time is valuable. I'm fully aware of it, so I want to make sure that in the next few minutes together, I can add tremendous value to your career. You see, in each episode, I deconstruct all the tools and tactics that we see in salary coaching, in the salary coaching trenches, that are successfully getting women their dream jobs and the big paychecks. So my goal here is to extract the tactics, tools, and routines so that you can use them and implement them. And this includes, if I have to recommend books, I will do so, recommending sites, strategies to implement, time management tricks, and much, much more. We will essentially be covering everything you need to know in order to get you to that place of utter satisfaction with both your career and salary. So with that, let's begin. Today, we're going to talk about YouTube. And I apologize, I have a little bit of a sore throat going on. But anyhow, with that, I want to talk about YouTube, following up on last week's theme of social media. There's two more things that I want to tackle, and today we're going to go into YouTube. Now, YouTube isn't technically social media, but it is such a relevant and important source for knowledge creation, and so many people are learning through YouTube that I would be amiss if I weren't mentioning how you can use in your career YouTube to really maximize your exposure to that dream job, that dream career, and how to maximize really your salary with YouTube. Now, what I am seeing that is most being done with YouTube is what's called the video resume. And truth be told, this kind of goes into a topic that is very dear to me. The truth of the matter is the resume in its current form, as that sheet or two of paper that you submit in an application, is kind of a dying art. I don't think that we're actually going to be seeing resumes for that much longer. Right now, it's just a cultural standard that is still remaining, but the truth is your resume is such a limited form of conveying your skill set and your background and really an accurate picture of what you can bring to the table that more and more companies are shying away from even asking for a resume. They really focus more on applications or really interviewing candidates or so. So this is why you'll see, for example, like Google, you have to go through something like 14 to 16 rounds of interviews before they actually make a decision on whether or not they're going to hire you. It really is about connecting with the culture and making sure that they understand you as much as you understand them, more so than them reading on a sheet of paper that you are an appropriate candidate. So I want to encourage you here to explore the idea of creating what is known as a video resume. Now, I really like to call it more like a personal legend that you use as far as videos go. And what I think is really important for me to highlight here is that the video resume can highlight not only your individual skills and experience, but it can give a full picture to what someone might see on paper. So with a print resume, you can really give a gist in very few words of what you're about, right? And what your professional background can bring to the table. But with a video resume, you really harness the craft of visual and auditory, as well as more of a user design experience. You can literally design the experience that the reader or viewer is going to have throughout the entire process. And this is something that you can't necessarily control as well on a paper resume. So I'm not telling you to fully replace your current resume, because even though it's a dying art, it's still relevant. I still firmly believe that you have to have a very persuasive resume, and we're going to go into how to do that in another podcast, but I think you absolutely have to have a persuasive resume, a LinkedIn profile, but having a video resume is an awesome idea, and I'm going to show you in a little bit a couple of examples that are just epic, and they've achieved some incredible results. So really, what you can use as far as what you can get out of using a video resume is showing you in a different light that you cannot harness on paper. You can really harness your performance work, show what you're really skilled at, maybe even teaching some material or showcasing your strengths. So, and not to mention that you can showcase your personality, right? This is why I really want you to think about it. But I don't want you to just go and sit down on your couch and film anything, because you're risking, if you don't prepare this properly, you're risking not harnessing the attention of the viewer in the way that you want. We want to make sure that for however long this video might be, and I don't suggest that you make it more than 2 to 5 minutes long, because remember, people's attention, when it comes to reading, is only 7 seconds. But when it comes to viewing, it might be a little bit longer if you have the ability to keep them engaged. So nonetheless, 2 to 5 minutes is pretty much the cap. Okay, so the thing here, and what's tricky specifically about video, is if it's done poorly, it will absolutely hinder your chances of really even landing an interview. It can really, if you do a mediocre job, it can completely embarrass you and just absolutely make you not even to the bottom of the pile. It really will just throw you off from the pile into the trash bin. So I want to make sure that you're really focusing in on the details that I'm going to give you next in order for you to have a really stellar resume, video resume, okay? So how do you go about doing this? Okay, first things first, we're going to keep it between 2 minutes and 5 minutes, all right? And I want you to think through the script. This should take you roughly 30 minutes to an hour to figure out, based on your resume and based on the job, like your ideal job. And, you know, if you have the bandwidth to tailor your video to every single one of your jobs that you're applying for or companies that you're interested in working for, absolutely do so. So say, for example, you're going to record this video. One day you've set out an entire hour or two in order to do the recording in a quiet space where there's going to be no interruptions. You know, the viewer here is not expecting you to record in a bulletproof studio. Obviously, that's not unless you're really, the job involves recording and involves production of some sort. But people aren't expecting to see a professional video, but they are expecting for you to put some effort into the actual process. So the first step that I'm going to tell you, if you're not really good at speaking on camera, what you want to do is think about crafting a script. Take about 30 to 90 minutes maybe, or maybe even 60 minutes. You shouldn't really have to think through it. This should not come across as scripted, but if you need a script, by all means, go ahead and script what you're going to say so that you are coming across as a potential professional asset, okay? And a really good app, like some people like to literally write out the script and stick it on the wall behind the camera. You can absolutely do this with your iPhone, by the way, or with your computer. But some people use this app called Parrot, and I think it's either The Parrot or Parrot. It's a really good app. It's free. You can download it, and it literally runs the script through as you go. And you can modify the pace. You can modify the size of the writing as it scrolls down through when you're writing, when you're reading things. So you can test it out. I recommend you test out the different speeds a couple of times if you're doing the script. And yeah, it's a super good tool. Mind me as I take a sip of tea here. All right. So other tips for you to create this video resume on YouTube. First things first, create your own YouTube channel. Now, what you can also really benefit from doing here is once you get the gist of this, once you create this intro video where call it your video resume, call it your intro, you've created it for yourself, you're going to probably get really inspired and say, man, this was actually really fun. And you might want to start creating content on your own channel, but we're going to get to that in just a second. So let's start with the video resume, with the presentation of yourself. You want to be professional, but you don't want to overdo it, right? If your goal is to try and find a job, you want to maintain it professional, and you want to avoid looking sloppy and don't really curse or use language that's kind of inappropriate. So pay attention to what the background noise is like. Make sure it looks tidy, and use common sense, right? Make sure it's not distracting. Like, don't have your kids or your dogs jump in unless it's kind of scripted into it, right? Make sure you do prepare a script if you don't feel comfortable and you can't memorize everything that you want to say. Make sure that you understand where you're going to express the main points of the video so that you can emphasize those accordingly, okay? Then the third component is really knowing your audience. Who are you speaking to? Is your video prepared for future hiring company or someone to hire you? Is it meant for a peer audience to kind of garner respect or authority on some sort of topic? Be cognizant of your audience and how they're going to perceive the message, okay? Keep it absolutely brief. I think 2 minutes to 5 minutes for a good resume is the max. Truth be told, 5 minutes might actually be too much. But at the minimum, I want you to have at least 60 seconds. So if you can do 60 seconds on a story about you, by all means, go for it. And then once you're done, here's what I want you to really think about doing, because it's really helpful to start spreading the word, okay? Share this video with your friends and your family. Start talking to your email connections and say like, hey, you guys, I just wanted to share this. If you are currently looking for a job, obviously do so in a way and say, hey guys, I'm looking for an opportunity here. So if you would be able to share this with someone and kind of connect me with any opportunities that you might have come across, I would really appreciate it. Now, if you're not necessarily looking for, you are currently employed, but you're not necessarily looking for opportunities, I would perhaps consider linking it up to your LinkedIn profile, right? Changing the settings so that people cannot see, like make it part of your profile, not part of your news. You make it part of your profile after you've made sure that people cannot see when in the settings section where you make changes to your profile. You can toggle that to say, I don't want people in my network to see my changes, because we don't want your current employer to see it, right? But then you're going to go to your recruiter settings and job finding settings, and you're going to open up the profile so that headhunters, hiring managers can see this in your profile. So that's an entire different section that we're going to tackle. We're going to tackle LinkedIn probably next week. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about how can you open the floodgates for your LinkedIn profile, okay? But this one, we're really focusing on YouTube and creating that video resume. So once you've actually gone about creating, like I've just really walked you through a very basic setup for creating this video resume and using the technology. So the fact is, most of us really use YouTube. So I kind of want to focus on another angle right now. Research shows that most of us people between the ages of 18 and 54, something like between 64 and 71% of people, both men and women, use YouTube as a source of education. So we go to YouTube to educate ourselves. And there's some really interesting literature out on this, but the truth is, people use YouTube to learn how to cook a steak, or learn about their horoscope, or learn how to knit, or learn how to this or the other. There's so many endless opportunities that on one end, you become, if you're the one showing the class, you suddenly become the expert. And there's going to be people who resonate with the way that you're teaching, in the same way that you might be searching for something and you can find someone who is an expert. Like, no, wait, let me get that backwards. You might become the expert for someone on another topic. Now, there's a lot of people who kind of go to the extreme and monetize this, and you can make a lot of good money if you do this right. But when we're talking careers, so if you don't want to really make YouTube your career, you still can maximize your YouTube channel in order to get centered as an authority on your career path, like in your field. So how do you do this? Well, on one end, put small tidbits of content out there. Share content that is relevant to all of your audiences, or like people that are interested in what you do and in your field, and also engage with other people who are doing this kind of work. Kind of get involved in the community of YouTubers in your field. And this is how you grow a network, you grow exposure, and you unintentionally or intentionally start becoming a bit more of a relevant authority on what you're talking about. And as it happens with most social media platforms, you're going to ultimately end up staying abreast and really much on top of the latest trends in your industry. So it's really the modern day way of doing research and developing any kind of industry in any kind of field. People are trying to teach on YouTube as much as people are trying to learn. So it's really this, it's kind of like this, the new wave of libraries and research. And in many ways, you can kind of get your own PhD. It might not be labeled a PhD, but you can learn endless amounts on YouTube. So that being said, I really want to encourage you to use YouTube to stay on top of your industry. Now, it's not something that you can really put on your resume and say like, oh, I watched 20 YouTube videos last week that helped me learn more about some particular technology. I want you to use this technology, though, to focus on your strengths and work around your weaknesses. So what do I mean by this? Well, when you watch a video, you're probably looking at a video of someone who is an expert at something or is very knowledgeable in a particular area. This person is obviously showcasing their assets, not their weaknesses. So by using this technology, rather than kind of letting their weaknesses limit them, people can really focus on their strengths and become unbelievable successes. I mean, there's 19-year-old kids who become billionaires just by making videos on certain specific kinds of makeups. Or I don't know if you have kids, I do. My kids watch these videos. I think one of them is Cookie Swirl C, which has over 1 million viewers, and it's literally just kids playing with like Barbies or different random toys. Kids love it. They love it. Every specific expert is going to have their audience. You really just need to find the audience for your strengths. So I'm not saying to ignore your weaknesses, just don't highlight them. So, all right. Well, a couple of other pointers that I wanted to make sure that I mention is, first off, is make sure that you're not waiting for permission to become an expert. So many of these people, so many influencers, if you will, aren't waiting for a PhD or a master's degree to talk about how to knit or how to do, whatever their expertise is. You do not have to be an expert in order to be ahead of the curve and be able to give guidance to someone. You just have to be a step or two ahead. So we're not claiming for you to be the top expert in the world at anything. We just want you to be ahead of people. And if there's something specifically that you can advise on, go for it. And this is where it's going to be so relevant for you to connect with your community, with your YouTube community, because your ideas and your videos and your content is going to help someone who wants to be in your shoes but is a little bit further behind. You see, careers are obviously a progression, and you're going to find people are at every single level of that progression, whether they're in the beginning or towards the end. Just as much as you can learn from others who are ahead of you, someone's going to be able to learn from what you're posting. So don't underestimate the value of being part of your relevant community online and YouTube, of course. So how does this really all tie back into your video resume and using it for your career? Well, needless to say, you can absolutely use all of these tools to showcase your assets. And if you're becoming a part of this community, you're growing your expertise as you go, and your companies start seeing that you have a following, that you have even from like a couple hundred to thousands of followers in what you're talking about, they're going to be like, wow, this person really knows their stuff. Like, they really know how to do marketing, or they really know how to do Excel. So like, let's pick something really basic, right? So maybe Excel, right? In your YouTube channel, and now this is not on your video resume. You have your video resume, but then maybe you have a series of like 5 short 1-minute videos on how to use different tricks and tools within Excel. Say if that's one of like your big strengths. You make 5 little videos, and they're all within your profile. So these are like kind of mini tutorials that you've created yourself, and boom, you've suddenly become like that much more well-versed at Excel than what a piece of paper can possibly convey. Like, think about it. If I see a video of you, and I also see that you've created all these tutorials on how to use certain features of Excel, versus you on paper, on which you will only get 7 seconds of my attention, and perhaps within those 7 seconds I got a glimpse of you being good at Excel. Like, the impression that I get from the paper is so one-dimensional. What I got from your YouTube channel, from your video resume and your tutorials, is so much more robust and engaging and exciting. So I want to leave you with a few video resume samples that I'm going to link here on the website. Well, I'm not sure I can probably really link them since this is a podcast. I'm sorry, I'm obviously still fairly new at this entire science of podcasting, as much as I'm loving it. So I'm going to actually give you a couple of ideas, or a couple of names here that I want you to Google, because you need to watch their videos, their video resumes. And the main one I want you to look at, and if I can somehow list them here on my website, like, I will absolutely do that. But Matthew Epstein, he is flippin' brilliant. Now, this video is a little bit older. It's from 2001, and it's a little bit controversial because he can be very irreverent in it, but it's one of the most engaging and entertaining video resumes out there. So Epstein was, back in the day, looking to get a job at Google. So he created this presentation. He totally clearly had a blast doing it, showing off his confidence and ability to take risks. And the video, again, it might not be particularly well received by every audience, but ultimately what ended up happening, Epstein did end up getting the job, even though not at Google. He got offers from 3 major companies in the Bay Area where he really wanted to work. So it's not really clear from like the data available online, but it sounds like he got some YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn offers. And he ultimately had the pick. I mean, this particular video went viral, and he got to pick literally out of many options as to where he was going to go work. So Google this guy. His name is, again, Matthew Epstein, and his video has been viewed millions of times at this point, and it was just epic. He did a good job. Then there's another one that her name is Erin Bondrak, Vondrak. This one is, again, this is a video gamer, and she kind of created an animated video. There's so many free apps out there for you to create animated videos that you could also, it's a different approach. And obviously she wanted to work for a gaming company, so it was completely appropriate. But she created an animated video along with a song of how she was just so passionate and she had the skills to work and be the ideal candidate for Valve. So it's a completely different way of showcasing herself that, again, a paper resume just cannot do. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to wrap it up right now because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just hope that I got the creative juices flowing, okay? You can do this. A YouTube channel is literally really easy. All you need is a camera, some content, and just shoot. Go with it. You can use your iPhone camera. You can use your computer. So, all right. If you have any questions, or if you want us to answer on air any of these kind of questions, just email us at ask@salarycoaching.com or come visit us at salarycoaching.com.